Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Raising Cane studio.
Let's ride!
Off and running. Welcome in. After further review here on a Friday, presented by Don Juan Cigar Bar. Musso in for Moscona. Our guys taking a little extended weekend here for Memorial Day. Leave today. He'll leave Tuesday. He'll be back on Wednesday. Jordan Kitchens, Paul O'Neill along for the ride, and we are fired up to have you along for the ride as well. I got a good show planned here to send you into your holiday weekend. Terrio, not able to be here for the entire 4 o'clock hour, but is going to hop on with us, give us his thoughts to wrap up LSU baseball season. So, of course, he's with us all year and now can kind of give the postmortem from his eyes. So we'll talk to Ryan at 4 o'clock. Chris Marler, LouisianaSports.net. He is out in Hoover for the SEC tournament. We'll check in with him a little bit later on in the 5 o'clock hour of the show. Less the SEC tournament, more. This is Marler's first time ever at the SEC tournament. And I mean, I'm sure as many of you know in the audience, you've made that trip. It's a really fun trip. Kind of see how he's taking that in. And yeah, we'll talk a little bit of baseball. This might shock a bunch of you too. The tarp is on the field in Hoover, Alabama. Gasp. But it is the first time this week. So that's pretty good as well. But they're supposed to be playing baseball there right now. Maybe a few check-ins throughout there as well. And of course, you know, I have baseball thoughts as LSU season has come to an end. So jam-packed show, fired up to have everybody along for the ride as we send you into a holiday weekend. Let us begin as we do every single day.
It's time to pop the top on another edition of AFR with Bud Light. Drink easy.
And we'll go ahead and get started with some LSU basketball and Will Wade and this offseason and recruiting and all of those things. And I'm actually excited to have this conversation because it is not in any way, shape, or form having to do with eligibility of players. Is Will Wade ruining college basketball? Like, you know, the entire narrative that we've been talking about here, not just on this show, across all of our shows for the better part of this week. No, this is actually going to be a little bit about basketball because LSU, I believe it was last week, you saw the commitment of Bryce DeSere. Late Thursday evening, that became official. He was announced in the class and officially signed with LSU. So I want to talk a little bit about DeSere, what he brings, and how this is really continuing a shift that we've seen in Will Wade's roster building here in the offseason. We'll get to that. A little bit about Bryce DeSere. If you don't remember from when he committed, he's 23 years old, French-born player, big man. In terms of position and just his stature. 6'11". If you like that, you'll love this. How about a 7'3" wingspan to go along with the 6'11" build? Played in 23 games this past season. He had signed a 4-year contract. I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce this Turkish team that he was playing with, but he signed a 4-year contract at the start of the season with them. Obviously, that won't come to fruition. He'll come to LSU now, but played 23 games over in Turkey this past season, including 17 in the EuroLeague, averaged 8 points, 3 rebounds. This is a guy who experienced, old, that tracks for what Will Wade's been going for, right? But the experience isn't just in terms of EuroLeague. It's also national basketball as well. He has been a multiple-time member of the French national team, played with Victor Wembanyama on that team, which, my goodness, can you imagine Wemby and Bryce DeSere just in the same front court with the size and the length? That, goodness gracious. Still wasn't good enough to beat Team USA in the last event that they faced off in. But, so you like that pedigree as well. He's a guy who is the 4th international player, 9th overall edition. So when Will Wade said a few weeks ago on John Rothstein's podcast, that's thin as far as you know, that just becomes more and more prophetic with every passing day and every new signee commit that Will Wade adds for this 26 team, and it's really taking shape. And this is where, when you look at DeSere, it kind of marks a shift in two areas. Go back to the beginning. You get your first commit, Marcio Santos, and they started rolling in after that. And what did they all have in common? Santos, Abdi Bashir, Divine Ugachukwu, scorers. You know, we played the clip from Jeff Goodman talking about Santos' game, talked all about the scoring, and then said the downside is can't guard. We played the clip from Abdi Bashir's coach at Kansas State to describe him, and he said simply, he's a bucket. Scores. We played the clip from Tom Izzo about Ugachukwu, where it was, he's done really well at scoring, but you got to remind him he's got to play defense too. They went early and got guys who fill it up. And it was intriguing because when you look back at Will Wade's time at LSU the first time, he had plenty of guys that could fill it up. The defense, specifically perimeter defense, is really where his teams lacked. And in the 1 year they actually were good at defending was his last year, and you lost Xavier Pinson and all that. And it just, I mean, we don't need to rehash that entire season. But by and large, Will's teams at LSU were offensive heavy. And the addition started out that way. And now you have seen a shift toward more defense. That really started with Salu Niang, who, look, we had Ersin Demir on the show earlier this week. He was great. If you missed that conversation, it was the third hour back on Wednesday. I would recommend you go find it on demand, YouTube, podcast, all those places. He was awesome in giving us a scouting report on all these international guys. And when he talked about Salu Niang, he said he is an elite defender. All SEC defensive team, he's going to pop. And that's the thing that really stands out about Yang. It's the same thing with Bryce DeSere. This is a guy, and those two are going to complement each other very well. But DeSere is a guy known for his length, his mobility, and his defense. If you have a point guard that can get him the basketball at the rim, he can obviously score. But mobility, defense, and length. And that's the other part that this changes kind of the shift of where they're going now. Man, you were looking at this, and everybody they were bringing in was 6'7", 6'8". I mean, Yang, who we just talked about, 6'6". When you added Michael Rushik, that's a 7-footer, and now you add another one with DeSere. So you've gone more length and defense. And with the way Yang and DeSere can complement each other, you look at this and you say, all right, Niang, you're out on the perimeter. As the wing, you got great length. He's an elite defender. We need you to really lock that down. DeSere, you're going to be the rim protection. And the thing about both of those guys is they're physical. And the SEC is a very physical basketball league, and LSU has lacked that clearly the last few years on the hardwood. Like, clearly. They bring that, and they're going to complement each other great. And then, oh, by the way, you have Mo Diabate, who's also a really good defender who can give you minutes and spell those guys. And it's you're starting to see it come together. And that's encouraging. Well, everybody else wants to talk about, Will Wade's ruining college basketball, the eligibility or ineligibility of players. And look, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I want players to be able to leave the G League and come to college basketball. That's stupid. Like, that's dumb. If you've signed a professional contract, you entered you gave up your eligibility. I stand the same as just about everybody else there. But while everybody else wants to talk about that, what's happening right in front of you is this team is coming together, and you can see a path to where, they're going to be able to make some noise and compete year one under Will Wade. And that's encouraging. I'd much rather that than 3-15. We talk about the big three having the worst season combined in 50 years. 3-15 on the basketball floor is part of that. I like seeing this, like to be able to see this start to come together while everyone else is looking over here and understand that 3-15, that's not where you're headed this year. We're making up for the basketball we didn't talk by talking a lot of it here in May because Will Wade doing what Will Wade does, making headlines. All right, we're going to grab a break. We're going to come back on the other side, dive into some LSU baseball. Season's in rear view. I'll give you kind of my 10,000-foot view on the season, where it went wrong, when you kind of knew that it was going to go wrong, all of those things. We'll talk about that next here on AFR.
AFR.
Brought to you by River City's 1 Hour Air, where they're always on time or you don't pay a dime. 752-001, where they're always on time or you don't pay a dime. I love sharing 5-star Google reviews. Here's one from Ricky Gomez, who said Chris, his technician, was very professional and knowledgeable during the HVAC evaluation. He provided details and recommendations in a clear and concise manner. That's one of the things that always stands out. If you're having an issue with your AC or your heater, and River City's 1 Hour Air sends out a technician for an evaluation, they're going to explain your options to you. And that may sound simple, but none of it, I don't know anything about an HVAC, neither do you. Let's be honest. So whenever they go get up in your attic or they go look at your HVAC unit on the side of your house and they come talk to you, they're going to explain very clearly what's happening and your options to remedy it. It's River City's 1 Hour Air. Look for the big yellow vans and trucks with the giant clock on the side. 752-0001.
After further review with Matt Moscona, presented by Don Juan Cigar Bar.
We're brought to you by Supper Club. You can book your reservation, supperclubbtr.com, supperclubbtr.com. One of the things about Supper Club that I love is if you want to go to Supper Club and be a baller, you can do it. You want to go to Supper Club and order a $5,000 bottle of Chateau Lafite Rothschild, you can do it. You want to go have $400 shots of cognac, you can do it. You can have experiences at Supper Club that usually are reserved for Las Vegas and New York and Paris and Abu Dhabi. That's here in Baton Rouge. But the thing you got to remember as well, if you want to go to Supper Club and have the best steak of your life and have a few appetizers, a dessert, bottle of wine, you can do it as affordably as any other restaurant in town. But the experience at Supper Club is unmatched. Introduced open seating at the bar, first come, first serve. So if you knock off of work, you want to head by Supper Club, you can walk in without a reservation, see if you can grab a bar stool or a table by the bar as well. Have a great dinner, maybe cocktail, close some business. Book your reservation, supperclubbtr.com, supperclubbtr.com.
Back here after further review, presented by Don Juan Cigar Bar on a Friday. Musso in for Moscona. LSU baseball, they saw their season come to an end on Wednesday night in Hoover, Alabama. And in that was expected at some point throughout the run. We all understood how heavy and improbable of a lift that was going to be for LSU to win the SEC tournament. So the inevitable, happened. We're going to dive more into the roster and next season Tuesday when we're back here. Matt will still be out. I'll be filling in, and I'll really kind of go into roster and kind of turn the page toward the offseason, especially because, at that point we'll be less than a week away from the transfer portal opening. So it just makes the most sense to dive into that conversation then. What I kind of want to do now is offer some thoughts on the season. A postmortem of sorts. I'm not going to sit here and, dissect your misses in the portal or the injuries or any of that because we've done that. We've all done that. I've done that on Musso at the Box. Matt's done it here. They've done it on the Morning Show. We've all done that at this point. Hell, we were doing that mid-season when Jay Johnson brought it up after the Texas A&M series, right? We know that. You missed in the portal. Then the injuries happened, and that compounded everything. Everybody's asking, how much did the injuries matter? They mattered. But what derailed this thing from the start of it is you just didn't play very good baseball. Okay? That's the part of this that should always shine through. Again, yes, you lost Cooper Moore. That mattered. You lost Jake Brown. That mattered. You did not have Jake Brown for the last 5 SEC weekends. Or, excuse me, the last 4 SEC weekends. That he was the leader. Like, all of that mattered. But why it mattered so much, yes, they're great players, but it just compounded the issue of you not playing really good baseball. That's what started this whole thing, and ultimately that's what finished it. So why? And again, the easiest thing I can tell you is, man, it just never clicked. It never worked. And I mean that strictly from an on-the-field perspective. This team clearly got along very well. They had great chemistry. It clearly meant a lot to them. But the pieces never gelled on the field in baseball sense. That wasn't the plan. Jay Johnson didn't build this roster because he thought they'd go 30-28 and not make the NCAA tournament. No, he built this team thinking that they could compete. And at times it looked like they could, but it never really clicked. You never got your best 9 in terms of position players, pitching. They never played complementary baseball well enough. It was always, if it's not one thing, it's the other. You pitched really well here. Oklahoma series, you pitched great that weekend. You didn't score enough to win 2 out of 3. You know, Kentucky, you want a slugfest. Tennessee, you want a slugfest. Although you did pitch pretty well in the Tennessee weekend. But there were just maybe Georgia and Florida are better examples of that. You had great offense. You gave up 36 and 37 runs, respectively, in that series. And then all the while, you fielded 967. It didn't click. And across all 3 phases. And then you add in the injuries and things of that nature, and you end up with where you were. One thing that I do want to talk about, though, that I think this team needs to be commended for, that was a great sign of growth that can help you into the future, and it hasn't really been talked about enough, is the resiliency and the response of this group. Because let's be clear, that wasn't good enough early in the year. Like, I will always use the Sacramento State series as the example for that, where they were. You went out, you scored 15 runs in the first game, then you lost the next 2. So it was the perfect illustration of response isn't their thing right there, and it was in wins and losses. You didn't respond well after scoring 15. You didn't respond well after losing game 2. I did a whole show on Musso at the Box about, like, that was basically the entire recap of that weekend was their response isn't good enough. They had to learn that, and they did. It got better because they never quit. LSU got swept in 5 of their last 6 weekends, and they showed up every single time, fought hard, believed they were going to win, and gave it everything they could right up until John Pearson grounded out in the 9th inning with 2-1 and he was the winning run. They fought. He worked a 8-9 pitch at bat. It was a really good at bat. You just came up short. But how easy it would have been for a team to quit. And in our time watching sports, haven't we seen a lot of teams quit in moments like that? And I'm not talking about LSU specifically. I'm just talking about teams in general in sport. They quit sometimes. This team never did. Even when they're getting swept 5 of their last 6, even when their hope is their NCAA tournament hopes are dwindling by the game. You've lost a starting pitcher. You lost your team leader in Jake Brown. Nope, never quit. You saw guys step up. You saw this team fight, scratch, and claw. And that is the part that's very encouraging because the guys who are going to be part of this next year were a huge part of that. And that's where you get into the freshmen, Mason Braun. All of those, Mason Braun, Omar Cerna, William Patrick, Jack Rucker. You throw Aaron Beatty in there. He's a sophomore, but you get the picture. How about Kason Evans? Kason Evans dealing with the injury, coming back and giving you arguably his best start of the year in the final game against Auburn. Those players are back. And they have built the foundation of a culture where you don't give up. You go out there and fight no matter what's going on. That's big for me going forward. Like, that is the thing you take from this season. Yeah, the freshmen had great stats, but that's the thing you take from them because that's what a championship foundation is built on. And they began to lay that again. The wins didn't follow. They're not always going to. And yeah, that stinks. But you could see the writing on the wall as this season progressed. And they kept going through all of it. And I'll tell you right now, I'll give you, I was doing an interview with RP3 and Mesh out there in Lafayette, our affiliates, Lafayette, Lake Charles. Went on with them weekly during baseball season. They asked me today during the postmortem if there was, when was the moment that you saw it and you said, probably isn't going to end the way anybody wants it to. And I gave him 2 Sacramento State series because it's just odd to see LSU lose a non-conference or a pre-conference series at home. It hasn't happened very often. Drop a game here and there, but it's one of those things that just makes you take a step back and go, oh, all right, hold on. There's real issues here because that doesn't normally happen. But the real answer is the week of the Ole Miss series. And talked about this a little bit on Musso at the Box after the regular season ended, but go back with me to Tennessee. Go back with me to Easter Sunday and think about where LSU was. You had went on the road into Lindsey Nelson, and you took 2 out of 3 from Tennessee. You got a really good start from Case and Evans that week. You got a really good start from William Schmidt that week. Your bullpen was really solid. I mean, Gavin Guidry gave you a long relief outing in that extra inning game. Marcos Paz had his first major, whoa moment that weekend. Cade Aaron Beatty had the 4 home run game and never looked back. You put up 7 in your first win. You put up 16 in your last. It looked good, and you were 12. You were 6-6, 12 games in. You had 6 weekends left. You were 6-6, and everything was kind of pointing up. Oh, here comes the offense a little bit. Man, Evans and Schmidt looked really good. It was all there. 6-6. First 2 weeks didn't go the way you wanted, but here you are. You've pulled yourself back to 500. You got 6 weeks to play. Then you lost the midweek game to Bethune-Cookman. And then you went on the road and got swept at Ole Miss. And it was the way the sweep at Ole Miss happened. Case and Evans gave you a quality start that night in game 1. But the offense just wasn't quite there against Hunter Elliott. You had big defensive miscues in that game. Fundamental miscues in that game, getting picked off, things of that nature. And you fell. You got run ruled the very next day. And shut down by Cade Townsend. And then you got shut down by Taylor Rabe and fell behind 7-0 before a 7-run, was it an 8th inning, 7th or 8th inning, brought you back even. Before a defensive miscue allowed the ultimate winning run on base for Ole Miss. You went out there. The offense sputtered after a great weekend at Tennessee. The pitching staff sputtered after a really good weekend at Tennessee. You allowed an Ole Miss team that was second to last in batting average at that point in the season to score the most runs they ever had that year in a conference weekend against you. And you kicked the ball around and you got swept. After everything was looking up, you turned in an 0-4 week. And then you looked ahead and you saw A&M, State, Florida, Georgia, all still left. And it was that moment that I kind of looked at it and said, man, the flaws on this team are the flaws. And I don't think they're going to get any better. And this probably isn't going to end the way that many or most or all of you want it to end. And lo and behold, it didn't. I didn't see the crater that followed, but that weekend, it was pretty evident that they can have moments but kind of are what you are at that point. And ultimately, it ended in the SEC tournament. Jay Johnson's got a lot of work to do this offseason, as does his staff going forward. I'd like to continue to sprinkle baseball in throughout this. So if you have questions, you can put them in the YouTube chat. I'll get to them kind of throughout the show. You can tweet them at me at Musso Matthew or X, or send them on the text line, 225-499-1045. If you have baseball questions or whatnot, text them in, and I'll kind of sprinkle them in throughout the show. We're going to do a lot of baseball here in the next few days on the show because, well, the offseason's here for LSU, and the portal's about to open and all those things. So if you have thoughts, just comments, keep the conversation going. Reach me any of those few ways, and that's greatly appreciated. It's going to be a fun offseason. We can finally talk about things that lend itself to the future, and the future always brings hope. So that's conversation around LSU baseball now should be a lot more cheerful than they were for the bulk of this year. All right, we're going to grab a break, come back on the other side, go around the SEC. Terrio still here in about half an hour. He'll talk some baseball with us as well. That's all next here on a Friday edition of AFR, presented by Don Juan Cigar Bar.
AFR.
Buying or selling, commercial or residential, think real estate, think Darren James. You want an unbelievable customer service experience? You want Darren James. It's part of his core values for Darren and his team. Darren tells me all the time, as long as I've known Darren, he said, my goal one day is to put myself out of business. I want to create such a turnkey, seamless, easy process for people to be able to buy and sell homes that they don't even need me anymore. Well, as Darren continues on that path in the meantime, he's going to help you sell your home. So if you need to sell your home, you want a realtor that quite literally sells more homes than anyone, you want Darren James. Last year, Wall Street Journal is listed the top 1% of realtors in America, Darren James. So need to sell your home fast for the most amount of money? You need Darren James. 335-7666, 335-7666, or agent225.com.
Think real estate, think Darren James.
After further review with Matt Moscona, presented by Don Juan Cigar Bar.
Love telling you about Arco Power Systems, ARCCO, arco.com, arco.com. That's Arco Power Systems. You know, we talk about generators a lot in Louisiana, especially all along the Gulf Coast, where we're sort of in this storm belt right here in the Gulf Coast. Well, of course, a lot of people have home standby generators. When we talk about Arco Power Systems, these are not home standby generators. This is industrial generator power. This is for your business. I mean, just think about it. When the power goes out, be it a hurricane, an ice storm, snow like we had last year, power goes out. What do you do with your business? Well, being offline is not an option. That's why you need Arco Power Systems. ARCCO, arco.com, arco.com, arco.com. Just look at all the locations. Baton Rouge, Bossier, Harvey, Lake Charles, Mandeville, Mobile, LaPorte, Texas, San Antonio, Little Rock, Houston, Dallas. They're everywhere. So if you're a business and you need standby power for your business, you need Arco Power Systems. ARCCO, arco.com, arco.com, arco.com.
Get you an update here from Hoover, Alabama in the SEC baseball tournament. Rain delays in Hoover just kind of go hand in hand, right? And this is the first one, so made it all the way till Friday. They didn't have to move games up yesterday, obviously. But all the way to Friday, Arkansas and Texas, they are in a rain delay. That game was supposed to get started about 30 minutes ago. They do have a scheduled first pitch now, 4:32 p.m. Central Time. And I'm going to take this opportunity to say this. We all love LSU baseball. We all want them to keep playing. Like, look, I already miss it. I missed it as soon as the season ended on Wednesday. But LSU would have been playing today had they beat Auburn, and they would have been the second game of the day, and it would have been another really, really late night, staying up, watching the team, and being at the ballpark. So, dodged a bullet there, I suppose. Yeah, I want them to play as long as they possibly can always, but man, whew. Look up at the screen, see Todd Walker and Peter Burns and Jared Mitchell and Luch, and just go like, oh, those poor guys. They're going to be there a long, long, long time. Let's get weird tonight at Hoover, though, between Texas A&M and Auburn. You're going to be playing that late? Get weird. Weird things have to happen at that point. We'll head to Hoover later in the show in the 5 o'clock hour. Catch up with Chris Marler, LouisianaSports.net. And I guess Marler's got to be working his way up to like co-host of Off the Bench now. I feel like he's in there at least once every week with either Jake or with Matt or hell with both of them at some time. I mean,
doesn't stop, man.
Yeah, I mean, Marler's experiencing the SEC baseball tournament for the first time. So this is also his first rain delay experience there. We'll kind of check in with him, see how the event's going and things of that nature. In the meantime, though, let's go around the SEC.
Around the SEC, bringing you the biggest news from the nation's best conference. The South Carolina Gamecocks.
South Carolina and North Carolina have mutually agreed to cancel their upcoming home football series. It was set to take place in 2028 and 2029. The Tar Heels are going to play at William Bryce in 2028, and the Gamecocks are going to return the trip there in 2029 to Keenan Memorial. That is no more. South Carolina replaces the September contest in 2028 with Bowling Green out of the MAC. So a little MACtion there to open the year. It'll be the first meeting between the Falcons and the Gamecocks on the football field.
The Kentucky Wildcats.
Kentucky stays hot on the recruiting trail. 3-star edge Griff Galloway. Great name there, Griff Galloway. He's pledged to Kentucky here late on Thursday. 6'3", 240-pound edge out of Charlotte. Chose Kentucky over the likes of Clemson, Florida, Nebraska, Notre Dame, Texas A&M, and others. 18th pledge, third this week for Kentucky. Number 625 overall player, according to Rivals, 22nd ranked player out of the state of North Carolina.
Texas A&M!
Mike Elko and the Aggies, they got themselves one. 2027 tight end Holden Nemi announces his commitment to Texas A&M. First tight end commit for 2027 for the Aggies. He's out of Michigan. Held offers from Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Indiana, Miami, Ohio State, Tennessee, all the top name schools that you would want. Just a 3-star, number 38 tight end in the country. But again, you look at those offers, would imagine he's going to ride. Checks every box, checks in as the number 12 player in the state of Michigan.
The Mississippi State Bulldogs.
And one basketball note here with the local flair. Mississippi State added a commitment from forward Ashton McGee as a late transfer. You might say, what's the local flair? Well, he spent his freshman season at Southern. He'll have 3 years of eligibility remaining as a freshman for the Jaguars. The 6'7" forward played in 31 games, 350 minutes, averaged 3 points and 2 rebounds. 6th transfer portal edition for Chris Jans and Mississippi State. And there you have it. That is around the SEC. It's after further review here on a Friday edition presented by Don Juan Cigar Bar. Musso in for Moscona as we drive you home and send you into your Memorial Day weekend. Get your Memorial Day plans in the chat. Tell us what you got going on. Text 225-499-1045. It's your Memorial Day plans. We'll mix in ours as well before we get out of here. I'm very much looking forward to it, and a very heartfelt thank you to the men and women who obviously defend this country and who we honor on Memorial Day. We're able to do that because of their sacrifice. So a thank you, obviously, to all the servicemen and women out there defending the red, white, and blue and wearing it proudly. It's one of my favorite holidays. I like Memorial Day weekend a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm more of a
good.
Labor Day weekend, though, just because it's right around football season. It's not football.
But that's the thing with Labor Day weekend.
Yeah.
It's become so overrun with football now that I feel like beach and all that and barbecue, maybe not the same as it is for Labor Day. To me, just doesn't feel like a summer holiday.
No, it doesn't at all.
Like Memorial Day, 4th of July.
Yeah. Grilling.
Yeah. Pool.
Yeah.
Beach. All of those things. Labor Day just doesn't feel like, and maybe it's because we all work on Labor Day.
Yeah, we labor on Labor Day.
Because it's the
football
week one of
season.
college football, right? I mean, hell, 2 years ago, LSU was playing the Sunday of that weekend, so it was literally the day after the first game. So maybe it just doesn't feel like that to me, anymore. But the summer holidays, man.
Yeah, they do
I
it.
love them.
They do it.
They're great.
It's a nostalgia factor, though, with the summertime.
That's true, too, because Memorial Day rolled around. It was really your first holiday of summer when school was out.
School just got out.
4th of July was kind of like that last.
Right around the corner.
Right in that, and it was that last, like, big summer holiday before you went back to school in August. So, yeah, for sure. There's the nostalgia factor. The nostalgia factor in it, too.
Goosebumps.
Summer holidays. Because, that's the thing. Like, everybody loves Christmas, Thanksgiving. But the summer holiday, I feel like you just have to put them in their own.
The summertimes is like its own thing.
Yeah.
Its own thing.
Yeah. For all the reasons we just went through. So, send into the show. Tell us your Memorial Day plans. We'll get to ours throughout. We'll kind of sprinkle that in. So it's a fun day, man. It's a fun day. Extended weekend coming. I'm sure some of you, probably most of you, have already left work and have gotten your weekend started, or maybe you've headed off to vacation, beach, all those things. Now we appreciate you listening, however you are here on this holiday weekend. We'll grab a break. Come back on the other side. A pretty big change to the NFL schedule. We'll talk about that next to close out hour one of AFR.
After further review.
AFR is presented by Duplessis Pools. With all the rain we've been having, some of the puddles out there kind of look like pools, huh? Those puddles look like, get it? Puddles, a lot of water? No? Sorry. You want the real thing? Duplessis Pools can build you a beautiful pool. DuplessisPools.com, DuplessisPools.com. Man, they're all over the region now. Incredible, the growth. One of the fastest growing pool builders in the country and one of the top pool builders in America as well. Pool and Spa Magazine last year rated Duplessis Pools number 26 in America in the top 50 pool builders in the country. What an incredible hat tip. That's based on the quality of their work, their customer service, customer reviews, incredible validation for Duplessis Pools. So thinking of putting in that pool, that outdoor kitchen, any type of way to beautify your outdoor space. You want to add a putting green, they can do that as well. It's DuplessisPools.com, DuplessisPools.com.
After further review with Matt Moscona, presented by Don Juan Cigar Bar.
Brought to you by Relief Windows and ReliefWindows.com. When we talk about Relief Windows every day, I always say windows, doors, siding. And now shutters as well. They do your indoor shutters. Same thing as the windows. Custom made, measured to fit your windows, custom fit for your windows, lifetime warranty on your windows, your shutters. But Brandon, you often hear say their number one product is customer satisfaction. And that's not just a catchy line. That's not a cliche phrase. Have an experience with Relief Windows and you'll understand. They go to the ends of the earth to make sure their customers are thrilled with the work they do. As a matter of fact, Relief Windows never takes $1 from you. You will not, no deposit, no down payment. They take all the risk. They will not take $1 until you're thrilled with the work they do. Who else does that? Only Relief Windows. Check them out online at ReliefWindows.com.
The NFL schedule was released a week ago, and if you were perusing it, you probably noticed that there is not one Monday night doubleheader this year. That's a decision that was made back in April at the NFL's annual league meetings, that they would do away with the Monday night doubleheader. Jordan, did you get this audio out of my folder? Sorry, I meant to tell you that in the break. That's my fault. Peter Schrager hosts the Schrager Hour. It's a podcast that he does, and he had Mike North on in the most recent episode. Mike North, if you're not, if you don't know who that is, you're not supposed to. Mike North is the vice president of broadcast planning for the National Football League. He basically makes the broadcast schedule. And when North sat down with Peter Schrager, they talked about doing away with the Monday Night Football doubleheader.
Yes, the Monday night doubleheaders are a thing of the past. I don't know why that didn't work, quite honestly. I thought it was fun. I thought it was good for us. That Monday night game, if it wasn't your game on Monday, would have been Sunday at 1 among 8 or 9 or 10 other games. You probably weren't going to get to watch it anyway. So having it on Monday, a national broadcast, watch it, don't watch it, flip back and forth, split screen, watch one, tape one, whatever. It just didn't work. The fans didn't appreciate it. And it probably wasn't a good use of an NFL asset.
This is interesting to me because I liked the Monday Night Football doubleheader. And I understand what he's saying there with, man, if it wasn't going to be on Monday night, it was going to be stuck at 1 o'clock on Sunday. And, the fans of that team would get to see it, but everybody else around the country really wouldn't. So put it in a broadcast window. The problem is it wasn't always standalone. You heard him back at the back end of that cut say flip back and forth. He also said tape it, which I don't think anybody tapes live television anymore in 2026. But if you do, good on you. And go back and watch it later with that. But that really is the point there, right? You're forced to choose. The Monday night doubleheader that I liked was the staggered one. Like, go back to week 2 this past year, and you had it in 4 weeks. You had 4 Monday night doubleheaders. Week 2, you had the Bucs at the Texans, which was a really good game. It was 20-19. It was a really good football game. And then your back half of that was the Chargers at the Raiders, which wasn't as good, but it was staggered. I loved it. I went home, watched Bucs Texans, got ready for bed, laid in bed, watched the West Coast game too. Like, that's really fun. The problem is when you end up like you did in week 4, when you had the concurrent doubleheader, Jets, Dolphins, Bengals, Broncos. I mean, those are running simultaneously, and what it did is it impacted their ratings. For example, the league's week 1 broadcast in 2024 drew 20.5 million viewers across ESPN, ABC, ESPN2, compared to just 20.5 million, or excuse me, compared to just 15 million the week after when you had the doubleheader, because fans were having to pick the game. And where those numbers get boosted is the simulcast of ABC. It's over-the-air television. Everyone's going to see that. When you had the doubleheader, you couldn't simulcast on ABC. And Mike North talked a little bit about that when he talked about now redistributing the Monday Night Football assets, as he put it.
So take those assets back, deploy them, redeploy them now. 2 of those 4 went to Netflix for the Wednesday night and the Sunday of week 18, Saturday of week 18. And the other 2 went to broadcast. So it's not like everything goes to streamers. They went to broadcast. And I think the upside to Monday night now is, instead of having, to bifurcate your resources, all eyes on the big Monday night game, simulcasted on ABC, good for Peyton and Eli on the Manning cast. You got some big games on Monday Night Football this year. Let's get everybody pulling in the same direction.
Do people still watch the Manning cast? I feel like the shine is off of that.
It's off.
Right?
I don't watch it no more.
But they keep doing it, so some people must still be tuning in. But there you go. Like, in the first couple of plays, he didn't know why it didn't work. Well, yeah, you do. You just explained why it didn't work in the second half of that. Fans were conflicted. They had to pick. When you have one Monday night game, they don't have to pick. Or when you have the staggered, they don't have to pick. But the Monday Night Football doubleheader is going to go away. I'm a little bummed. I liked it just because it's football. And who didn't like, even when you had the 2 running congruent with each other, parallel of each other there, opposite, whatever you want to say, when it was halftime of one game, they'd at least stagger the start. So halftime of one game, you could switch over to the other. I liked it. Jordan, Paul, did y'all like the Monday Night Football doubleheader?
I was more of a stagger guy. I didn't like when they both started at the same time.
Yeah.
I would only like it if the other game was trash. That was only good. The other game was trash.
Yeah, but again, that hurts their ratings too, right? Because everyone's just going to
switch
tune
over
out of that and switch over. Paul, do you like it?
I did not like it.
Okay.
I feel like Monday Night Football is like
one game.
It's the one game. It's Monday Night Football. That's the one you're locked into. So I did not like it.
That's fair. I mean, that's a very fair point. I mean, yeah, you should have that stage for the for the one game. They will going forward. Send your thoughts in. Did you like the Monday night doubleheader? Will you miss it? YouTube chat. You can tweet at me. Text 499-1045. Just interesting discussion there. Because, I mean, it's something we had kind of become accustomed to, but it certainly seems like the majority of the fans weren't for it. And the NFL, they've made the necessary change. We're going to grab a break. Come back on the other side. Sports Center will get you caught up on the national headlines. And then Ryan Terrio hops aboard with us. We'll talk some baseball with the Riot to kick off hour number 2 here on a Friday edition of AFR presented by Don Juan Cigar Bar.
After further review.
Quick reminder about Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry, lmfj.com. lmfj.com for Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. They're the best. If you are, gentlemen, thinking about popping the question and you're thinking about where am I going to go buy that diamond, I want you to consider this. There are places that will sell you man-made lab diamonds, but what are you buying? It's according to its makeup and characteristics, sure, diamond. But is it going to hold its value? Like, is that the way you want to say, I love you, I want to spend the rest of my life with you? Go to Lee Michaels. Go to Lee Michaels. Walk in the door. Experience the thing I talk about all the time, which is the Lee Michaels experience. It's Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry with 10 locations. Baton Rouge, 2 locations in Baton Rouge. New Orleans, Lafayette, Shreveport, Mississippi, Texas as well. 10 locations across 3 states. It's Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. Thrill her, gentlemen. Thrill her with a gift in the red box from Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry.